When a little girl became her mom's lawyer, an incredible truth was revealed in court. In the heart of a small Midwestern town, 10-year-old Lily was a fierce force wrapped in a petite frame. Her bright eyes sparkled like stars as she claimed the world around her, a spirit forged from love and justice. Everyone knew Sarah, her hard-working mother, a waitress who wore hope like armor, juggling multiple jobs just to put food on the table in their cozy, cluttered apartment. But on that fateful day, their lives veered into darkness when they received an unjust eviction notice due to their landlord's sloppy paperwork. "Mom, this isn't right!" Lily exclaimed, clenching her fists, her small body trembling with indignation. Sarah, weary and overwhelmed, sank into the couch, helplessness etched across her face. "I'm trying, sweetheart. But we don't have the money for a lawyer." Tears welled up in Lily's eyes. She refused to accept this. "Then I'll be your lawyer." With a determined grin, she ran to their neighborhood library, her heart pounding with resolve. As Lily pored over dusty books, discovering laws and tenant rights, whispers of her ambition spread through the community like wildfire. "That little girl is going to take on the landlord?" People murmured, disbelief mixed with admiration painting their faces. Despite their low-income struggles and daily battles, Lily's fire ignited courage in their hearts. Days turned into a whirlwind as the courtroom date approached. Everyone felt the tension rumble and the town made space for a silent reckoning of economic inequalities. The day finally dawned, a crisp tension hanging in the air like static. In the court, Lily stood across from a polished attorney, who regarded her with disdain, just a child playing lawyer. He scoffed. But Lily held her head high, eyes fierce and unwavering, her tiny voice echoed through the room as she presented their case. Every word dripped with truth, revealing layers of neglect faced by families like hers. "My mom worked so hard to give me a better life," she declared, the weight of her mother's sacrifices behind each syllable. Her passion enveloped the room, casting shadows on faces now turned solemn, witnesses to her bravery. Just as the judge signaled a break, a shockwave rippled through the courtroom. A forgotten connection between the landlord and Sarah surfaced, igniting gasps from the crowd. Long-buried truths collided with the present, shaking everyone to their core. It wasn't only a landlord versus a tenant, it was a community wrestling with empathy amidst past grievances. Lily and Sarah were at a crossroads, grappling with the heavy question of justice. Could they forgive the man who held their future in his hands? Doubts tangled with hope, and the whispers of solidarity grew louder against the backdrop of deep-seated shame. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the jury prepared for deliberation, the air thickened with uncertainty. Would Lily's small voice, bursting with love and courage, really change anything? Or would the shadows of the past suffocate the hope for a brighter tomorrow? Lily clenched her hands, yearning for justice, unity, and the power of love. In a world where economic disparity crushed spirits, would they find a way to rise together, or would the past continue to divide them? Underneath the heavy weight of awkward silence, the courtroom buzzed with whispers as the jury stepped away. The tension was electric, a pulse racing through the room, reflecting the collective hopes and fears of everyone present. Lily's heart thudded in her chest as she glanced at her mother. Sarah's face was a mixture of pride and anxiety, and it only fueled Lily's determination. "Mom, we have to believe in ourselves," she whispered, finding her mother's trembling hand and squeezing it tight. "We can't give up now." Sarah offered a half-hearted smile, though her eyes mirrored the weight of their struggle. "You've done so much already, honey." "I'm proud of you," she replied, still holding on to that flicker of doubt. In the hallway outside the courtroom, community members gathered like moths drawn to a flickering light. They shared stories of resilience and whispered encouragements, grounding them all in a sense of solidarity. "That little girl is something else," one neighbor murmured, shaking his head in disbelief. "I've never seen anyone fight like that." As time crept on, the minutes felt like hours. Each tick of the clock echoed loudly, ramping up the anxiety in everyone's hearts. Just when it seemed as if the jury would take forever, a shadow loomed at the courtroom door. The judge emerged, her demeanor serious, and immediately, silence fell. Everyone stood, even Lily, who felt the heaviness of anticipation wrap around her. "The jury has reached a verdict," the judge announced, her voice steady yet void of emotion. Lily's breaths came quick, her palms sweaty against the cold metal of the chair. Mom's hand was still clasped in hers. "What does that mean?" she whispered, barely audible. "It means—" Sarah started, but words failed her. She simply squeezed her daughter's hand tighter, both seeking comfort in that one gesture. The judge continued, "We are adjourned until the jury is ready to report back." The gavel struck as the room filled with murmurs of disbelief and hope. Returning to their seats, everyone glanced at each other, solidarity interspersed with uncertainty. Back at the table, Lily caught the eye of the landlord's attorney. He was whispering to his client, who wore a scowl. For an instant, Lily met the landlord's gaze, bravely defying his cool demeanor. He looked angry, but beneath it was something else: fear. Maybe he was just as scared of the unraveling truths as they were. Suddenly, a clatter echoed from the back of the still room. One of the jurors had dropped a folder. The sound cut through the silence, an inconspicuous reminder that lives hung in the balance. And just like that, the atmosphere shifted. Lily's thoughts whirled. Could it be possible that this wasn't just about her family, but about everyone who had struggled under the weight of injustice? Every home lost, every struggle brushed aside. What if she could be the voice for more than just her mom? "Mom, whatever they decide, let us offer him a chance," she breathed, surprising even herself with the suggestion. The room had a profound stillness, but her voice remained steady. Sarah's head snapped in her direction, uncertainty flickering before admiration settled in her features. "What do you mean, sweetheart?" Sarah asked, intrigued. I think we can talk to him. Understand him." Just then, the jury began to file back into the room, and Lily's heart raced. Would her vision of unity stand a chance against the fears that had haunted them for so long? As the jury took their seats, Lily realized that whatever verdict would be handed down, her fight for justice had only just begun. With determination gleaming in her eyes, she vowed to uphold her newfound belief that understanding could lead to healing. The room filled with tension once more, and the judge's clear voice rang out. "Court is back in session." Would the verdict bring resolution or ignite a new beginning? Lily felt the stir of something greater within, but would it be enough? Lily's heart pounded as the jurors took their seats. She could feel her mother's grip tighten, their palms sweaty and clammy, an unspoken bond forming between the two of them. The judge sat back down, her gavel cutting through the murmur like a knife. "Will the jury please rise?" the judge commanded, her tone serious. The room fell into a pin-drop silence as they stood, a wave of nervous anticipation washing over the audience. After some brief whispers, the foreman stepped forward. Every eye was glued to him, waiting for this moment to shatter or heal them. "We, the jury, find in favor of," he started, but the words seemed to hang in the air. Lily's breath caught. What if this was the moment where everything went wrong? Her eyes searched the room, finding the landlord's scowl etched deeper, a tightness around his mouth that spoke volumes. On the other side, she saw her neighbors, some fidgeted, while others prayed. "The defendant," he finally said, each syllable weighing a ton. A chorus of gasps erupted, and Lily felt her stomach drop. Reality twisted painfully. Her mother's hand fell limp from Lily's grasp, and she could see the devastation settle over Sarah's features. In that second, hope shattered like glass hitting the floor, but amidst the despair, a flame flickered inside Lily. She refused to let them drown in this bitterness. "Mom," she whispered, feeling a sudden surge of purpose. "We can still do something about it. Sarah looked at her daughter, wide-eyed. What can we do, Lily? The jury has spoken. Lily took a deep breath, her heart racing faster than ever. We offer him a chance. It was a thought that had sparked in that tension-filled moment before, but now it lit up her entire being. She stood up, surprising herself with the conviction in her voice. I mean it. No one is beyond understanding. The court was still in shock, eyes sliding from Lily to Sarah. Let us meet him, Mom. Let us ask him why he did this to us, and maybe there's more we can learn. A ripple of disturbance passed through those present. Whispered conversations hummed around them, but Lily's focus was steady. This was more than an act of rebellion, it was a call to empathy. Sarah's expression softened, her own shock giving way to something resembling hope. You really think so, sweetheart? She asked, almost incredulous. I do. Lily felt the power swell within her. We have to try. As murmurs rose around them, the judge came back to life, her voice commanding attention. Order in the court. The verdict stands, and while I understand this is difficult news for you, it is not final. You still have the right to seek further action if you believe injustice has been served. With those words, hope cracked back into the atmosphere. It was a doorway, not a wall. Lily met her mother's eye, sensing the warmth of understanding pass between them. This wasn't the end, but maybe, just maybe, it could be a new beginning. Determination surged as Lily took a step forward. Is there a way to appeal? She shouted out, feeling the energy surge in the room. Yes, there is a process, the judge replied, clearly taken aback but intrigued. What's the next step? Lily pressed, her voice stronger now. The courtroom buzzed with activity, as every single person seemed to hold their breath, pulling for this little girl fighting against odds that felt insurmountable. Together, we can take the fight back to him, Lily continued, her bright spirit cutting through darkness. We can make him see. The energy turned electric. Would they truly be able to rewrite this story? As she turned back to Sarah, their eyes sparkled with the unspoken promise of resilience. The battle had not ended today, it was only just beginning, but as they stepped outside into the glaring sunlight, Lily felt the weight of the struggle ahead. Would they find the strength to confront the truth hidden within pain? A new journey lay ahead, and whispers of unity and understanding beckoned them forward. Lily took a deep breath, ready to step into the unknown. Lily stepped outside, the light of day crashing over her like a wave. Her heart raced, not just from the verdict but from what lay ahead. The sun was bright, almost mocking the heaviness she felt inside. She turned to Sarah, who looked lost in thought, her face clouded with worry. Mom, we have to find him, Lily said, urgency fueling her voice. We can't let this go. We can't walk away like it's over. Sarah blinked, the days of the courtroom still lingering around her. You want to meet him? She hesitated, trying to imagine facing the man who had caused them so much pain. Yes. Think about it. If we learn why he did it, maybe we can change things. Lily's eyes shone with determination. I know it sounds crazy, but remember what the judge said. We have the right to seek action. This could be our action. Sarah rubbed her forehead, her emotions a mix of fear and admiration for her daughter's bravery. But how do we even find him? He's not just going to meet with us. Lily paused. The hope in her voice faltered momentarily, replaced by a shudder of doubt. But she quickly shook it off. We need to find a way. Maybe through the court records or the lawyer something. We can start there. Sarah let out a breath, half lost in the idea. This isn't just a meeting, Lily. He's not going to just change overnight. Maybe not overnight, Lily replied, her voice growing stronger, but if we don't try, nothing will ever change. People need to hear his story, too. We can show him that he doesn't have to be this way. Walking down the courthouse steps, Lily sensed a shift around her. The world felt different now, charged with possibility. This fight was becoming something more than a legal battle, it was about connection and understanding. As they reached the car, Sarah finally nodded, a newfound spark igniting in her. Okay. Let's dig into those records and see what we can find. I can call my friend who works in the legal department. She might have some insights. Lily's heart soared. Yes. That's the spirit. She slid into the passenger seat, her mind swirling with ideas. They had a mission now, a purpose to rally behind. With Sarah's phone buzzing in the background, they began brainstorming how to approach this man not as victims, but as voices seeking answers. The idea of confronting their pain head-on filled Lily with both excitement and trepidation. That evening, they sat together at the dining table, papers sprawled everywhere. This is him, Sarah pointed to a name on the document. Mark Jennings. He's got a record, but it looks like there could be more. Lily leaned in, her eyes scanning the details. He's been through a lot, she murmured, empathy surging within her. Maybe that's why he did this. Or maybe it just made him more bitter, Sarah replied, but her expression softened. But there's definitely a story here, isn't there? Exactly. Lily exclaimed, feeling a rush of energy. We need to uncover it. If we understand him, we can help make a difference. They worked through the night, piecing together bits of Mark's life, trying to understand the man behind the actions. Each discovery brought fresh questions, and with them, the weight of the journey they were about to embark upon. But as they prepared to confront the reality of their findings, a chilling thought crept into Lily's mind: what if he wasn't willing to share his story? What if they opened a door only to find darkness? The very next day, they would brave the unknown and seek out Mark Jennings. Each heartbeat thrummed with anticipation. Could they really change the narrative? And so, as they closed the file that night, they were left with one question hanging in the air: what truth would they unveil when they finally stood face to face with the very man who had changed their lives forever? Lily woke up the next morning with a nervous energy buzzing in her veins. The sun peeked through her curtains, casting playful patterns on the wall. She should have felt excited, but doubts nagged at her. What if Mark didn't want to meet? What if he rejected them outright, dismissing their pain like it was nothing? She pushed those thoughts aside and focused on the mission ahead. Today was the day they would uncover the truth. Sarah was already in the kitchen, cup of coffee in hand, scrolling through her phone with her brow furrowed. "Mom, are you ready?" Lily asked, trying to sound buoyant. Sarah looked up, a mixture of weariness and determination in her eyes. "I think so. I talked to my friend last night. She said there are ways to reach out to him through his probation officer. We might get lucky. Then let's do it." The thought of having a plan filled Lily with a sense of purpose. "Do we have their number?" "Yes, I'll call them in a minute. Just, remember, Lily. This isn't just a picnic. We're dealing with a lot here. We have to stay calm." "Calm. Right." Lily repeated, but her heart raced at the idea of what they were about to do. After breakfast, they sat together on the couch, the weight of what lay ahead heavy in the air. Sarah dialed the number, tapping her foot against the floor anxiously. Each ring felt like a countdown, and Lily couldn't help but hold her breath. A voice finally answered on the other end. Sarah introduced herself and explained what they wanted. Lily leaned closer, straining to catch every word. Her pulse quickened when the officer agreed to put them in contact with Mark. "Just be careful. He's been through a tough time," the officer warned. "Of course," Sarah replied, her voice steady, but Lily could sense the tension beneath it. They hung up, and Sarah turned to Lily. "We should meet him at that cafe down the street. I think it'll be easier for everyone." Lily nodded. The familiar place buzzed with life, with the aroma of freshly brewed coffee and pastries hanging in the air. But for Lily, it felt like stepping into an uncertain void. They arrived early, nerves crackling between them like static. "I can't believe we're actually doing this," Lily muttered, glancing at Sarah, who seemed lost in thought. Whatever happens, remember, we're seeking understanding. That's what matters, Sarah said, squeezing Lily's hand tightly. Minutes dragged by, then stretched into what felt like eternity. Finally, Mark appeared in the doorway, his figure tall and slightly hunched, as if burdened by an invisible weight. He hesitated, scanning the room before locking eyes with them. Lily's heart pounded wildly in her chest, and everything around her blurred. He looked different from the man she had imagined. There was fear in his eyes, but also a flicker of something else, curiosity. They invited him to sit, the sound of chairs scraping against the floor echoing like a thunderclap in Lily's ears. As Mark settled across from them, an uncomfortable silence enveloped the table. "Thank you for meeting us," Sarah finally said, her voice steady yet soft. Mark nodded slowly. "I wasn't sure anyone would actually want to talk to me." Lily's heart beat in sync with the anticipation thickening in the air. This was the moment. The chance to tap into the roots of pain and perhaps even hope. Could they bridge the chasm between their worlds? What if Mark was more than just an embodiment of their pain? What if he had learned, changed? As Lily prepared to speak, fully aware of the questions bubbling inside her, a thought struck her. Some truths are harder to face than others. And just as she opened her mouth to voice her first question, something unexpected happened. Mark glanced at them, a hesitation creeping into his expression, and with a shaky breath, he looked down. "You have no idea what you're getting into with that." Lily's resolve teetered precariously on the edge. Could this truly lead to a breakthrough, or were they stepping into a darkness they weren't ready to confront? The next heartbeat felt like a canyon opening between them. As the cafe buzzed around them, all Lily could think was, what truth would unravel if Mark's walls started to crumble? The silence hung heavy, wrapping around the three of them like a thick fog. Lily's heart raced, caught between fear and the flicker of hope. She watched as Mark clenched his hands, studying the table as if it held the answers to unspoken questions. "Please, just tell us what you mean," Lily finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. Mark took a deep breath and looked up, the weight of his choices hanging in the air. You think you know the story. But it's more complicated than you can imagine." He paused, glancing out the cafe's window, eyes darting across the street as if searching for something just out of reach. "Complicated how?" Sarah pressed gently, leaning in closer. "There's so much guilt," he admitted, his voice strained. "I hurt so many people. I thought I was making things better, and then it spiraled out of control. I didn't intend for anyone to get hurt." Lily felt a rush of emotions swirl within her. She had always imagined Mark as a monster. Now, he seemed human, vulnerable, scared. "What happened, Mark?" she asked, her voice trembling. He struggled to speak, the words choking him. "I tried to escape my life. I made decisions I thought would free me, but instead, they buried me." Each word was punctuated by a deep breath as if he were fighting off emotions threatening to break through. The hum of the cafe faded into the background. "What do you mean you thought you were trying to help?" Sarah asked, her voice low, creating an inviting space for Mark to share his truth. Mark's eyes grew distant, lost in the past. "I was in a dark place. I thought if I did this one thing, my family would be better off, that I wouldn't have to hurt anymore." His words hung between them, heavy and cold. "But I was wrong. I hurt my kids, my wife. All they ever wanted was me." Lily's heart ached at the realization. He was just a man, lost in turmoil, not some unfeeling stranger. "What did you do?" she whispered, needing to understand the darkness he was trying to articulate. "I promised them things I couldn't deliver. I made mistakes. They were waiting for me, and I didn't show up." Mark's gaze returned to them, filled with an apology she could feel, shaking her to the core. "Every day since has been a reminder of my failure." The truth washed over Lily like a tidal wave, challenging everything she had held until now. She saw the glimmer of hope in her own heart, realizing that understanding could create a path to healing for all of them. Do you think you could start over? She asked carefully, feeling the gravity of her question. Mark hesitated, a flicker of fear crossing his face. I want to, but I don't know if it's even possible. Sarah leaned forward, her hand reaching toward Mark with warmth. What if we explored that idea together? Maybe there's a way to move forward, to start anew without carrying this weight alone. Lily held her breath, recognizing the moment slipping into something unexpected, a chance for connection rather than judgment. But then Mark's expression fell, and he replied, You don't know what you're asking. I could bring you pain. I don't want that for you. As those words echoed in the air, their meaning sank deeply. What if attempting to reach out only led to another wound? Or could they surprise themselves by finding a light amidst the darkness? In that charged moment, Lily sensed the world teetering on the edge of transformation. They were dancing on the precipice of something profound, a pathway littered with uncertainties, yet ripe with the potential for redemption. Maybe we can help each other, Lily said slowly, heart racing, feeling the undertow of emotion pulling her in. And just as hope flickered to life in the small space between them, something shifted in Mark's eyes, a glint of possibility. Could he change? Could they? The answer hung in the air, enticingly out of reach. Would they find healing together or plunge deeper into despair? As the cafe buzzed around them, one question loomed large: what truth lay beneath the scars, waiting to be uncovered? The moment felt electric, charged with anticipation and the heavy weight of unspoken hope. Mark's shoulders slumped a bit, like the weight of his past threatened to crush him. Lily wanted to reach out, to soothe whatever turmoil churned within him, but she held back, waiting for him to find his way. What if it's too late? He said finally, his voice cracking, almost pleading. I've lost so much time, and everything I touch seems to break. Lily looked at him, an ache settling in her chest. It's never too late to try, she said, her words soft but firm. Sometimes starting over means facing the mess and finding a way to work through it together. Mark's gaze softened, but doubt lingered in his eyes. But what if I can't face them? What if they don't want to see me? Have you tried? Sarah interjected, her tone encouraging yet steady. Sometimes, reaching out is the hardest part, but it's the first step toward healing. Mark seemed to consider this, the silence between them stretching thin as he wrestled with his thoughts. The cafe buzzed around them, voices rising and falling, but in their small world, it felt like time stood still. Maybe, he began, his voice trailing off as a flicker of cautious optimism danced in his expression. Maybe I could at least write a letter, something to show them I care, that I'm sorry. Lily felt her heart swell at the idea, a small spark igniting the room. That could be a great start. You can tell them exactly how you feel, and it's a chance for them to see the changes you want to make. Even Sarah smiled, the warmth flowing between them like a lifeline. It doesn't have to be perfect, Mark. It just has to be honest. Kids, they understand more than we give them credit for. As Mark contemplated this, his expression shifted. There was a shift in his features, something that resembled new resolve fighting to break through the clouds of regret. I can't promise anything, he replied, the tremor in his voice lessening. But I want to try to re-enter their lives, no matter how messy. I want them to see I'm still here, that I'm trying. Lily felt tears prick the corners of her eyes. It was a start, a glimmer of hope that promised something new could blossom amidst the rubble of the past. Then that's all that matters right now, she said softly. Suddenly, the cafe felt a little warmer, the air lighter. But then, Mark's face hardened slightly. What if they don't forgive me? Or worse, what if they want nothing to do with me? Lily leaned forward, urgency spilling from her heart. But you won't know unless you try. What if they surprise you? What if they're waiting for you? Mark stared at her for a long moment, an internal battle raging behind his eyes. The fear of rejection loomed large, but so did the flicker of hope, a tiny flame hesitant to be snuffed out. Okay, he finally said, a breath escaping his lips. I'll write that letter, and I'll start over. As Mark spoke those words, the trio shared a collective hold of breath, hope mingling with the uncertainty hanging in the air. It felt like crossing a threshold, stepping into a brighter space where tomorrow held promise rather than despair. But just as they began to breathe easier, Mark's phone buzzed on the table, breaking the fragile moment like glass cracking under pressure. He glanced down at the screen, and his face paled, the relief washing away like tide receding. He faltered, staring at the message, his pulse quickening again. It's my wife, she's trying to reach me. In that split second, the tangible hope of connection threatened to unravel into chaos once again. Lily watched Mark, her own heart racing, realizing they stood at another crossroads. Would this communication be a door to redemption or reopen wounds that were just beginning to heal? Mark's hands trembled slightly as he glanced up at her, the weight of his next decision pressing down hard. Could he face her again after all these years? The question hung there, heavy with consequence, poised to shift everything once more. What if the next message he received held the answer they all needed? Mark's heart raced as he stared at the phone, the familiar number stirring a whirlwind of emotions. Memories flooded him, a mix of joy, pain, and regret. He had been avoiding this moment for so long, but now it felt like it had bulldozed its way back into his life without warning. Take it, Lily urged gently, sensing the internal storm swirling within him. You need to know what she wants. He nodded, though uncertainty gripped him like a vice. Mark took a deep breath, letting it out slowly, as he swiped to answer the call. Hello. His voice was barely above a whisper. A moment of silence stretched before he heard her voice. It was warmer than he expected, like sunshine spilling through clouds. Mark, she began, I didn't know if you'd pick up. He tightened his grip on the phone. What is it, Sarah? Can we meet? I think we need to talk in person. About the kids. The mention of their children sent a jolt through him. Is something wrong? Panic clawed at him, but he didn't want to show it. No, nothing's wrong. I want them to know you're trying. They've been asking about you. Mark's heart ached. They've missed me. I think so. They need to understand things are different now. Lily leaned closer, her eyes wide with hope. Mark could see her desperate wish for him to succeed in this moment. He felt a flicker inside, like a match striking in the darkness. I want that too, he replied, fervently. I'm ready to be there for them. Great. Can you meet me at the park tomorrow? Yeah. Yes. I'll be there. After he hung up, Mark's mind raced, turning over possibilities like pages in a book, each one filled with a chance to change everything. But fear still clawed at his insides. What if they don't want to see me? What if they blame me for everything? Lily placed a hand on his arm, the warmth of her connection grounding him. You'll never know unless you try. They're kids. They want to believe in you, just like you want to believe in them. Mark glanced down at his hands, the way his fingers trembled signifying his doubt. But Lily's gaze was steady, filled with encouragement. Think of it as a fresh start, she offered. You have a chance to rewrite the story. I hope you're right, he murmured, though uncertainty still flickered in his chest. Suddenly, Sarah chimed in, breaking the tension. And how cool would it be for you to reconnect? They're at that age where they really want their dad back in their lives. You can't pride yourself on being a perfectionist. Just be their dad. A smile broke through as Mark felt the first true sense of hope mixed with the weight of his responsibility. Okay, I can do this. Lily nodded, clearly seeing the shift in him. And remember, you don't have to do it all at once. It's about the small victories. Mark took a deep breath, letting relief wash over him. Tomorrow he would face his past, but more importantly, he would stand for his future, one that could lead to healing and understanding. But just as he was starting to breathe easier, Sarah's phone pinged with a new message. She glanced at the screen, her face suddenly transforming from excitement to worry. Oh no. What is it? Mark asked, anxiety flooding back. Sarah held up her phone, her eyes wide. It's a notification the court date for your divorce is set for next week. Mark's heart plummeted. How could he face this battle now? Would he sort through his emotions about his children and navigate a legal nightmare simultaneously? Or would this new development derail every fragile hope he had just begun to build? The uncertainty loomed large, and the air filled with tension once again. How could he muster the strength to face both his family and the impending court conflict? With so much at stake, would he finally find the courage to reclaim his life? Mark spent the night tossing and turning, thoughts spiraling like autumn leaves caught in a wild wind. Each time he closed his eyes, he faced scenes of meeting his children, how they might look, what they might say. Laughter. A cold shoulder. He felt both excitement and dread wash over him. Would they see him as the dad they wanted or the one who let them down? Morning arrived too quickly, dragging him out of fitful sleep. The sun peeked through the blinds, casting stripes of light across his room, asking him to rise and face the day. He prepared himself mechanically, his mind clouded with worry about the impending court date. Yet, there was also that little spark of hope, like a little ember he didn't want to extinguish. Lily was already waiting for him in the kitchen, the smell of coffee wrapping around him like a warm blanket. You look like a man who is going to meet his destiny, she quipped, trying to soften the gravity of the moment. Mark chuckled, but the heaviness in his chest didn't dissipate. More like a man walking into a lioness den, he replied, pouring himself a cup. Lily's expression turned serious. Remember, you're not just walking in there for yourself. You're doing this for your kids. Show them you care. He nodded, but as he sipped the bitter brew, doubt still churned inside him. What kind of father could he be now? One who was likely to be judged in a courtroom. As they made their way to the park, tension built in his stomach. The sun blazed down, bright and unyielding, making him feel exposed and vulnerable. How would he tell them the truth about his mistakes? At the park, he could see Sarah sitting on a bench, two small figures playing on the swings nearby. His heart raced. They looked so carefree, lost in their world of laughter and imagination. He wanted to join them, to break that wall that had been built over the years, but anxiety pinned him to the ground. Mark, go on. Lily urged softly. They need you. With a deep breath, he walked towards them. As he approached, the kids looked over, their faces transforming from playful delight to cautious curiosity. In that moment, he could see a flicker of recognition in their eyes, like they weren't quite sure if he was real or just a dream they hoped for. Dad? The voice came from his daughter, holding a teddy bear tightly. Yeah, it's me, he said, the words bubbling up like a dam breaking. Their faces were a mix of surprise and caution, and it struck him that in that instant, they were looking at him, not as the mistake he thought he was, but as the father he wanted to be. Why haven't you come back? His son asked, swinging quietly, his little feet kicking up dust. Mark knelt down, wanting to gather them up in his arms, but instead, he answered honestly. I didn't know how. I was scared, and I was worried you wouldn't want to see me. His daughter frowned, the bear clutched to her chest. We do want to see you. Mom said you were trying. It hit him then, the weight of their words. Sarah had told them something positive about him. There was a chance they still believed in that dad they remembered. But as he looked back at Sarah, standing just out of reach, he caught the flicker of sadness in her eyes, like she was holding on to hope too, but was equally burdened by their past. Before he could say anything else, a loud voice, brimming with annoyance, tore through their moment. Hey! You can't just show up here. A man was stomping up the path, anger radiating off him like heat from pavement. You're not allowed to talk to them. Mark's stomach dropped. Who was this man? Did he really have the right to come into this moment with such force? Had he become a stranger to his own children already? The air was thick with tension, and Mark felt the urgency rising. Would he fight for this moment or let it slip away? The truth was, he had no idea who this man was or the challenges ahead. But one thing was clear: he had to find his voice and his place in all of this once and for all. And as the confrontation loomed, Mark found himself asking, would this meeting be the turning point he needed to reclaim his life and his role as their father? Mark's heart raced as he faced the stranger approaching them with fierce determination. Every instinct screamed to protect his children. Who was this man? What threatened to rip apart the fragile moment they shared? Who the hell are you? Mark demanded, fear blending with anger. He glanced at his children, watching the shifting expressions on their faces. Confusion danced with unease. Mark's pulse thundered in his ears. The man planted his feet firmly on the ground, crossing his arms defiantly. I'm Dean, he announced, his tone sharp. And you lost the right to say anything to them. You can't just waltz back into their lives like everything's fine. Mark steadied himself, the weight of Dean's words heavy on his chest. I know I messed up. I wasn't there when they needed me, but I want to make it right. Can't you see that? Dean scoffed, his brows furrowing deeper. You think that's all it takes? You're just going to stroll in and fix everything? You have no idea what they went through because of you. The hurt in Mark's chest flared up again, memories of regret flooding his mind. He almost didn't recognize it was this anger directed toward himself or Dean. Dad? His daughter whispered, shuffling closer, her teddy bear now forgotten at her side. The softness of the little girl cut through the heated exchange. Mark's heart swelled at the sound of her voice, but guilt squeezed it tightly. Lily, he said softly, looking into her bright eyes. I'm sorry for everything. I want to bear my share of the responsibility. I want you both to understand why I wasn't there. I can explain. Please let me. Dean stepped closer, his eyes narrowing. You think they want to hear your excuses? Mark looked from Dean to his children. I need them to know I care. I'm trying. I need them to know I want to be a part of their lives. That's not enough, Dean shot back, but uncertainty flickered across his face. They have a good life now. You don't get to ruin that. And I don't want to, Mark responded firmly. I just want a chance. The children glanced at each other, uncertainty swirling in the air around them. They were caught in a battle that didn't even think had stakes, yet the weight of finding their father again clung to them like a heavy coat. Maybe we can figure this out together, Lily finally said, her voice trembling but resolute. I missed you. I want to know you. Mark felt a rush of emotion, pride mingled with love for his children. The longing was palpable. He stepped closer, seeing the flicker of hope begin to light their faces. It's never too late, right? Dean's face softened slightly as he processed her words. Mike could feel the shift in the air, those words simple yet powerful. You're right, he admitted, surprise flashing across his features. But this has to be on their terms. Then let us talk, Lily offered, her voice steady despite her tiny frame. Let us see if we can make this work. The tension in Mark's shoulders eased a little as he glanced back at Dean. If you want to stay and listen, I would appreciate that. I promise I just want to be there for them now. Dean sighed, his stance softening. I'll stay, but if you're going to take this chance, you'd better understand the stakes. Agreed, Mark said, feeling a breath of relief for the first time in so long. I'm ready to show them I care. With a nod, they all settled slightly, the children moving closer together, a tiny unit of uncertainty. Mark opened his heart, pouring everything into his words, weaving tales of his mistakes, of his love, and his deepest wishes to become the father they deserved. The echoes of their past reverberated in the air, but amidst the hard truths came a glimmer of possibility. With every moment, with every connection made, they moved closer toward healing. As the final words hung in the air, the tension eased into a shared understanding, a first step toward mending broken bonds. They, Mark learned, were not just looking for a father but for a path forward, a way to embrace the future without burying the past beneath years of silence, and as he reached for his children's hands, a spark ignited within him. The road ahead would be a challenge, it wouldn't always be easy. But as they pushed forward together, Mark finally felt the powerful thread of hope binding them like a family once again, ready to embrace the uncertain, luminous dawn ahead. Now stand with me. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that transform lives like this one. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm so everyone can feel this powerful story. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this ending. And for those who need inspiration, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends. Don't wait not even one more second to get involved. True fans know how important it is to support the channel through these actions. Be the change.